Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're sitting in the C-suite of a financial institution in Germany, you already know the deal. Regulatory compliance, specifically under the German Securities Trading Act, or WpHG, well, it can often feel like this massive, heavy burden just constantly weighing down your operations. But there's actually a huge strategic shift underway right now. Today, we're going to explore how transforming your approach to WpHG compliance from an internal, everyday struggle into a strategic, high-end, outsourced operation can literally become one of your greatest competitive advantages. We'll be looking directly at the strategies and the solutions provided by S+P Compliance Services to make this happen.
For way too long, executives have viewed compliance merely as a cost center, just a costly administrative burden that drains time, money, and resources. But a strategic pivot changes everything. Think about it. When you handle your compliance efficiently and flawlessly, you suddenly empower your management team to get back to focusing on growth and innovation, completely secure in the knowledge that your legal and regulatory flanks are fully covered. It doesn't just protect you, it actually becomes a strategic competitive advantage.
So, here's exactly how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll cover the WpHG challenge, followed by high-end outsourcing as the solution and building your external compliance center. Then, we'll look at the 5 pillars of security, examine certified quality and trust, and finally, look ahead to the WpHG Status Check 2026.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the WpHG challenge, and navigating those complex regulatory burdens.
You know, the regulatory net here is incredibly broad. If your business operates in the financial sector, you carry this specific regulatory weight. We aren't just talking about your traditional credit institutions and their branches, or the large investment firms. Nope. Even FinTechs holding German Banking Act licenses, payment service providers, capital investment firms, and cutting-edge crypto service providers managing or securing crypto assets, they all face the exact same scrutiny. The margin for error across all of these entities is essentially zero.
So what's the traditional reflex when faced with all this pressure? You hire internally, right? Well, managing internal compliance hires is incredibly rigid and high cost. The modern approach involves a massive strategic shift to high-end outsourcing. It's not leveraging agile, modular, and deeply specialized external expertise instead of relying on an internal headcount.
Which brings us to part 2, high-end outsourcing as the solution, and specifically, the S+P Edge. Relying on internal recruiting means you are carrying some seriously high fixed costs. Plus, you have to pay for extensive, ongoing training because, let's face it, regulations constantly change. It's a massive resource strain. And crucially, the full liability rests squarely on the shoulders of management. But when you pivot to high-end outsourcing with a partner like S+, those costs become modular, meaning you literally only pay for what you need. You get immediate access to industry-leading expertise without that painful onboarding lag. Your internal team can finally return their focus to your core business. And most importantly, your regulatory liability is minimized because you're relying on certified experts to maintain strict legal compliance. That is a huge weight off your shoulders.
And this actually brings us to a really crucial philosophy: one-stop shopping. When you utilize high-end outsourcing, you aren't managing a dozen different consultants. S+P Compliance Services provides a single, reliable partnership that handles everything, from your WpHG requirements to MARISC, and even your ICT compliance under DORA. It's total, comprehensive coverage, all in one place.
Moving on to part 3, your external compliance center, providing complete protection for your business.
Let's talk bottom line. By avoiding the massive expenses of hiring, training, and remunerating internal staff, you instantly optimize costs and achieve a drastic reduction in your fixed overhead. That shift allows your internal employees to actually return to their core tasks, which gives your company a massive operational agility boost. All the while, specialized experts are working in the background to ensure strict adherence to the law, effectively minimizing your risk of sanctions or reputational damage. Ultimately, getting this immediate implementation of best practice methods results in a direct, very real professionalization of your corporate governance.
Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds amazing, but transitioning is probably a nightmare, right? Actually, it's remarkably frictionless. It starts with a simple inquiry to discuss your specific WpHG challenges. That quickly turns into a flexible, tailor-made service package based on your exact size and industry. And that leads straight into a seamless outsourcing contract integrated perfectly into your existing processes. You are literally 3 steps away from total compliance security.
Okay, part 4. The 5 pillars of security, and the core tasks handled by S+. So once you're integrated, what actually happens? SP's WpHG compliance officers kick off a very methodical, ongoing cycle. It starts with crafting and implementing custom policies. That flows right into training your staff so they fully understand their compliance roles. Security is then maintained through constant monitoring and internal auditing to identify and neutralize vulnerabilities before they become an issue. Then comes preparing all the necessary reporting and communication for your management and the external supervisory authorities. Finally, the cycle focuses on continuous improvement. They are constantly monitoring the legislative horizon so your business proactively adapts rather than reacting in a panic when laws change.
Next up, Part 5, Certified Quality and Trust, examining the gold standards of compliance.
Look, when you're handing over regulatory responsibilities, a handshake and a promise aren't enough. You need objective, third-party verified proof of security. That's where gold standard certifications come in. S+P holds the IDW PS951, which is absolutely essential for proving to auditors that your outsourced processes are totally secure. They maintain the ISAE 30402, the international benchmark for outsourcing providers. For your highly sensitive data, they have ISO 27001 certification for information security and ISO 9001 for reliable data processing. They even hold an EcoVadis Bronze rating, which proves a strong commitment to sustainable ESG practices. So it's not just marketing, it is verifiable regulatory trust.
The real power here, honestly, is the sheer modular flexibility of what they offer. You can tap into compliance as a service for things like KYC checks, integrity watch, and transaction monitoring. If you need help with regulatory reporting and risk, they support you with EMIR, MIFR, and CRR frameworks. And for those core outsourcing roles, they can step right in as your money laundering reporting officer, your MA risk officer, handle your ICT function under DORA, or even run your internal audit. You get exactly the specific tools required for your financial institution's unique risk profile.
Finally, Part 6, the WpHG Status Check 2026 and how to future-proof your compliance.
Because let's face it, compliance isn't just about surviving today, it's about future-proofing your business for tomorrow. The source material encapsulates this perfectly. It says, take the pressure off your company and rely on the proven cooperation with S+P Compliance Services and create room for growth and innovation. That right there is the ultimate strategic relief. You are essentially trading regulatory pressure for sustainable growth.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. Is your financial institution actually ready for the WpHG Status Check 2026? Because regulatory demands are absolutely not going to get easier. They are only going to get more complex. Relying on an outdated, internal-only model is a massive strategic risk. By proactively embracing high-end outsourcing, you don't just secure legal certainty, you lock in a massive competitive advantage. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to consider how these insights can fundamentally transform your operations moving forward.